Fine. Now we'll go and create the reference data set. Okay. So these are the points we discussed about reference data set. What is the purpose of reference data set? With the reference data set, you can segregate and maintain the data BU-wise. You can, if you are defining something that if you want to share across the business units, yes, you can use the reference data set. You can define the reference data set accordingly and you can map to the business unit. Or you want to maintain the specific setup data. So remember, setup data, reference data set for what purpose? For setup data purpose. Okay, primarily setup data purpose. In some cases, it will connect to transaction based definition also, primarily for setup data. How you want to share the setup data? Okay, you want to share across the business units or within the business unit, that you can plan and define, implement by using the reference data set. So now we'll go and create the reference data set. To create the reference data set, go to our implementation project. You can do it from FSM homepage also. Okay, let's do it from implementation project. So go to manage implementation projects, just click on overview. In this project, search for the task called as reference data sets. So here is the task called as manage reference data sets. Just click on go to task icon. So if you click on search, you could see all reference data sets which are created in this environment. Okay, so the first two are seeded. Common and enterprise. The rest of all are created by the users who are working on this instance. I mean to say, who are practicing on this instance. These all are created by them. Okay, we'll go and create. So to create the new reference data set, just click on new. Just open the record space. You can give the name as Cloud INC BU. Cloud INC BU set. Okay, just provide the name. If you want to write the description, you can write it, otherwise not mandatory. So save and close. Now go to payment terms. Sorry, just we create a reference data set. Now we'll go and create the payment terms. Search for the task called as payment terms. So manage payment terms. Click on go to task icon. So click on create.
Lakshman, there will be payment terms from the customer and supplier too, right?
Yes.
Is it only in the payables, or I saw only one link there?
Sorry.
There will be a payment terms for the customer. There will be payment term for the supplier too, right? So
Correct. Yes. Payables payment terms, receivables payment terms.
yeah, what I saw is only payables payment term there when you search it with the payment term, and you enabled the collections offering too.
No. You will have a receivables payment terms also. The name would be receivables payment terms. You'll find that also. Receivables payment terms also we have.
Maybe you are fast. I could see only one. That's why confused.
No, now we are creating the payables payment terms only. We are not going to see receivables payment terms. When we create the receivables, we'll see that.
Now my question is, when you searched with the implementation project, as per the offerings you enabled the collections part too, right?
Correct.
So if you enable the collection part, why not I'm seeing the customer payment term?
You can see receivables payment terms also.
Or particularly we need to search with the receivables payment term.
Yeah, receivables payment terms we have to search. Receivables.
So the payables payment term is just payment term, and receivables is like
Yes,
receivables payment.
exactly.
Okay. The terminology, trying to understand. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, fine.
No, actually, I'm searching for. I did not go to the project, but I went in and just say payment terms. It's picked up both of them. So probably the searching here. Yeah, see, it's coming.
Okay. I think you didn't notice the reason is I think it was like this. Just it was like that earlier. You thought like
Oh, okay.
sometimes these are
Got it. Thanks. Yeah.
okay. Fine. So
That's
manage
when
payment.
I that's when I don't know what I have done to all the tasks when I go into my project. Uh, the same tasks come under procurement as well as financials. So
You added procurement offering also. That's it.
okay. So the most of the tasks are under procurement as well.
No. See, your most of the tasks not like if you just select financials and procurement. If you are implementing for financials, most of your financial tasks will be under financials only. Few tasks still you can find under procurement, but always you prefer to choose the task from financial so that that would be tagged into selected scope.
Yeah, I always choose but it shows the procurement too. So that's what I thought. I might have selected procurement as well. Okay.
Don't see, I didn't select any procurement in the current project, right? We have only financials.
Okay. So I can go back to the project and deselect the offering. Is that possible?
Yes, we can delete it. We tested the same, right? How to add, how to delete also we did in the previous sessions.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yep. Fine, just so this is a project. So if you want to remove this, select it, click on delete. If you want to add if I want to add procurement here, I can select and I can add, right? This is what we discussed. Fine. Search for payment terms. Okay. Manage payment terms. Click on manage payment terms. Click on go to task icon against the manage payment terms. So click on create. These all payment terms are created in this environment. Okay. So we know like we'll find very few payment terms as a seeded immediate payment term and few net 45 and all. So rest of all are created by users. Fine. Just say create. You can say cloud net 45 cloud inc net 45 and installments. Here you can specify the installments. Click on add installments. Just click on add. So due 100% net 45, so we have to pay within 45 days. And if you want to specify the discounts, like in EBS we can set the discounts 3 levels, the same applicable here. The first discount, the percentage of discount on days, the second discount, third discount. You can set discount terms if you want to set it up. Okay. So this is just you have to create the payment term and you have to assign this payment term to reference data set. Click on add under set assignments. Let's select the reference data set which you created. So cloud inc bu, right? This is the reference data set we created. Select it. That means we are assigning this payment term to this reference data set. Okay, so now say save and close, and we'll assign one more payment term to our reference data set. We'll go with immediate. Even when you are practicing also, just go with the immediate because Oracle made it as a default payment term. Okay, so just go to immediate payment term. So assign this immediate payment term also to our reference data set. That means total 2 payment terms we are assigning to our reference data set. So this is the immediate payment term. See, this immediate payment term is assigned to many reference data sets. We'll assign the same payment term to our reference data set also. Click on assign, select our reference data set. Cloud inc bu. This is the name we given. So save and close. Fine, done. So what we did, we created reference data set, that reference data, and we created payment terms. The part of payment term definition, we assigned the same payment term to reference data set. Done. Now that reference data set we have to assign to our business unit. Here we could see sorry, for which setups this reference data set is applicable. Okay, so the next task is assign reference data set to business unit. You have to assign reference data set to our business unit. To perform that setup, you have to search for the task called as business unit set assignments. Any question?
Sir, one question here. The payment terms which we created just now, the custom one, is it already will be assigned to common or we common data set, or we need to explicitly assign it to common data set?
No, see, we are not using common. We are not using common. We created our own reference data set. We assign that payment term to our own reference data set. So that won't be available anywhere. Only that is mapped with our reference data set.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, we are not using common in our case for payment terms. Fine. Now we have to assign that reference data set to our business unit. If you want to assign the reference data set to business unit, what we have to do is we have to search for the task called as business unit set assignments. Here set means reference data set. Okay, that is a point you have to remember all the time. Set means reference data set. So business unit set assignments. Search. Okay, search for business unit set assignment task. Just click on the same task, and here you could see the same manage business units set assignments. So we want to assign that reference data set to which BU, that you have to select into scope. Okay, first click on go to task icon. So select and add, click on apply and go to task. At the time of business unit creation, which reference data set we used? At the time of business unit creation time, at the time of business unit creation, which
It
reference
was
set we used?
common. It
Common.
was common.
Yeah, common. Now we created our own reference data set, right? And the same, we just payment terms we assign to that. Fine. These 2 points we are clear. Okay. So now we can understand that how it works. Search for our business unit, select, and say save and close. Now you can see for which concepts the reference data set is applicable and which setups you can manage at BU level. The complete list you can see now. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to search and select your business unit and say save and close. It will take us to the page where you could see all those. Okay, Cloud INC US business unit. So BU level, BU creation time, we selected reference data set called as common. So that is reason for BU level, for all these reference data objects, okay, for all these objects you can manage BU level. Out of that, one of the reference data object name is payment terms. You see the big list. Okay, so here we have payables payment terms. Payables payment term is one of the reference data object. Okay, fine, one of the reference data object. Object wise you can have a separate reference data set. Whatever you assign at BU level, that would be defaulted to all the reference data objects which are applicable for specific BU. So these all could see receivables related, memo lines, logbox, receivables payment term, receivables remit to addresses. These all whatever you define, you can maintain BU wise. That means the data cannot be shared with other BUs, or else if you want to allow to share, you can do that. There are many definitions. Apply hold reasons, cancellation reasons, close reasons. It's all about invoice related apply holds, cancellation reasons, etc. etc. Many we have. So why system is taking common for all? This BU creation time you selected common, right? We'll go and see that. If you go to business unit, so manage business units. Find our business unit, Cloud INC. Just click on the name, it will open the definition. You selected common. Can we change it? No, we cannot change after creating the business unit. Okay, so since for our business unit we selected common default set, nothing but reference data set for BU, the common, the actual code is common, the description is okay, set name is common set, we selected here. That is the reason same is applied for all reference data objects which are applicable for specific view. Will open in the different window.
So Lakshman, is it mandatory to assign only common reference dataset to a operating unit?
No. You can create BU specific reference data sets, those you can assign. If you don't want to manage the data BU specific, in that case, you can use the common. We'll discuss few points here. That's the reason just I'm going to open this. It's not mandatory you have to assign common. You can, how you want, accordingly you can manage that. So we'll see, we'll talk on that few points. So manage business unit set assignment.
So Lakshman, is there a data element which it does not allow to be changed
Your voice is
from
very
common
low.
and it's
Your voice is very low.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was asking, is there a data setup which the system forces you to keep as common or enterprise?
No. So if there is something where system will force us to maintain the common, that they are not giving as a part of this reference data set concept. They are by default they are giving as a common. If you define something commonly, that would be available. So if they are giving this, control system won't force you. As per your requirement, you can set it up.
Okay.
Yep. See
So I
here,
was thinking like system level hold or something which will be forced by the system and you cannot
by
change it.
default, the system will use common. Okay, holds and all you have, right? By default it will use common, but for your business unit you want to access all the holds, all the hold regions, or you want to maintain the separate hold regions which can be accessed by your business unit. That you can decide. For only holds you can have a separate reference data set also. Reference data set. We'll discuss few points. If you have any other questions on this concept, we can talk on that. See here, in the BU creation time we given common. So since we given common for this BU, so for BU specific all the reference data objects common is getting defaulted. Now if you want to change at BU level, you cannot do it. Since you cannot do it, if you want to change this, since you are not able to do from here, you may do from here. You may change to all the reference data objects as to different one, from common to maybe your BU specific. So once you create, system will you apply default the same. So if you have a requirement, client requirement, where they want to maintain the setups BU wise separately, you create reference data set before you create the business unit. Say you have a business units. In that case, you create BU1 reference data set, BU2 reference data set, BU3 reference data set, and BU4 reference data set. So at the time of BU1, you select BU1 reference data set, BU2, BU3 and all. Okay, done. So for everything you just selected this. Now for BU1 reference data set, okay, for BU1, the BU1 reference data set will get defaulted here for all. And you want to maintain the payment terms common. Okay, you don't want to maintain the payment terms separately for each and every business unit. In that case, what you can do is the reference data set, BU1 reference data set will be defaulted for all. This BU1 reference data set, sorry, the BU1 reference data set will get defaulted. Instead of common, it will take this, since you are going to select in the BU creation time. And only for payment terms, you can choose common. Okay, notice this point. For each reference data set, you can have a different each reference data object, you can have a different reference data set also. Okay, you may go with all as a common. Only for payment terms, whatever you created, that you can use it. What we created, given the name as Cloud INC. So these all, like whatever this, for all these which are assigned to common, those you can access. Only payment terms you can access. How many payment terms are associated with this reference data set? That's how it works. For each reference data object, you can maintain the separate reference data set, or else you can maintain the common, or you can maintain the common in the sense it's not like this common, same. Okay, same you can maintain. That could be created by us, and which is associated BU creation time, or else that could be the one which given by Oracle like as a common or enterprise, that we can take our own decision. So now here, any questions from anyone related to this, please? Any questions, please?
So Lakshman, the concept is pretty simple. It's just grouping. That's all. By default, we use, the whatever out of the box common comes there because we chosen first. Otherwise, just is grouping.
If common
Of whatever it
at
is.
BU level, that same will be defaulted to that BU related all reference data objects, or else if you want to
Right.
override, you can override it. It's all about giving the access.
Right.
Yeah, just giving the access. You want to give the access to this BU for common set or your custom set. If when this BU will access to this common or this custom, whatever you created, which reference data objects are associated with those sets, those only can be accessed by this business unit. That's all. That is the point we discussed related to payment terms. Fine. Any questions related to this, please?
Lakshman, when you created this payment term, you just have Cloud INC Net 45 under that and associate that one to this Cloud INC BU. So and you associated this data set to this business unit. So
Correct.
does that mean this business unit will have access only to Cloud INC Net 45, not to 30net immediate?
How many payment terms we assign to our reference data set, Cloud INC BU? How many payment terms we assigned?
You did just one.
We did two.
You assigned just one, right? Cloud INC Net 45.
I'm not sure you are attending or not. We assigned two, right? One is
One was immediate.
yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you did fast immediate also. So two. So basically,
That's
Cloud US business unit will have access to those two.
Only those two payment terms. Yeah, you are right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is a point. Okay. So so the same we'll see as it just will be testing also. Any questions on this, please?
Yeah, Lakshman.
Yeah.
If we will go with the reference data set with common, then what will happen in case of payable payment terms?
Common. If you go with the common, see, this is a which instance? Vision instance. In vision instance, the people when they practice normally they use common only. What are the payment terms they create? All they assign to common. So if you go with a common, this business unit will have access to all the payment terms which are associated with the common. Okay. In the fresh instance also, the seeded payment terms, immediate and other 2, 3, what Oracle provides, those by default they assign to common. So those you can have access if you go with the common. That's it. So very simple. If you go with any reference data set for payment terms, how many payment terms are associated with that reference data set, those you can have access. If you go with the common, to common many payment terms are assigned. Okay. Many payment terms are associated with the common. All you can access. That you cannot see in one go. So you have to go to each and every payment terms that is assigned to common or not, you can see. Now if you select here common, this BU can have access to many payment terms. If you assign this to this BU, only this BU can have access to two payment terms. The reason, to this reference data set we assigned only two payment terms. Clear, right?
Yeah, right. Thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions here, please? Fine. Okay. It's all about defining something, assigning to reference data set, assigning that reference data set to our BU. Or else, if you want to use common for our BU, just BU creation time you can take common, that will be defaulted. Whatever you create, you associate with the common. again you no need to come to this page to select something else, because you are using common anyway. Common used at BU creation time, the same will get defaulted for everything. Whatever you assign, that you can assign to common. Now you no need to override here, right? So that's how it works. Fine. If no questions, we can proceed to next step. Fine. No questions. So save and close. We'll see that impact also. Okay, we'll see that impact. What we did, we created reference data set, we created payment terms that we assigned to reference data set. Finally, that reference data set we assigned to BU. Any question? I think somebody is not unmuted. Fine. So the next task is, in case of EBS, if you are going to set up payables, if you are going to do the payable setups, what are the primary setups we have to perform? What are the key setups? These and all we know very well, but just to take into discussion, I am asking this question. So what are the key setups to implement payables? The very key 2-3 setups, which we start with that.
Payables options and financial options.
Yeah, that's enough. That information is enough. Financial options and payable options, right? Financial options basically for purchasing and payables, and payable options are specific to payables. So here also similar to that, we have a setups, but the naming convention they're given different. So financial options name they're given here as a common options for payables and procurement. Say configure common options for payables and procurement. So this is how we have a setup which is equal to financial options. First we have to set up common options. So we know financial options are common options for payables and procurement. That is the purpose we have a financial options in EBS. Based on the purpose, the name also now Fusion they given as a common options for payables and procurement. Reality, those are common options. The financial options are common for payables and procurement, or say purchasing. Okay, the same based on the purpose, the naming convention also changed. And in case of EBS, we have a payable options. By using the payable options, what setups we can do? We can set a controls and defaults for payables related process that could be related to invoice process or payment process. But we have seen the setting up or enabling or assigning business functions to BU. We have a separate business functions. For payables invoice, one business function. For payables payments, we have a different business function. So that is the reason the payable options also they segregated, which will control the invoice process and which will control the payment process. The payable options related controls they given as a separate tasks as invoice options and payment options. The invoice options and payment options both are equal to EBS payables options. So set up or configure invoice options, and we have a payment options also. They separated. In case of EBS, the invoice related controls and payment related controls, everything you can set in the payables options only. In the payable options only, we have a different tabs to manage all these relevant configuration, but here they're given as a two separate tasks. Okay, the reason these two are available as a separate business functions, right? These two are available as a two different business functions for BU assignment. That's what we have seen. Fine. So any questions on this point? Anyway, we'll see in the system. If you're trying to understand any point, any query on this, please. Just financial options they're given as a common options for payables and procurement with this name. And in case of EBS in payables, what are the payable options you see? The one option, the payable options they segregated and given as a invoice options and payment options. The invoice related controls and defaults they move to invoice options. Payment related controls and defaults they move to payment options. That's how we have two different options. For invoice separate and payment separate options you can set up through different setups. Any questions here, please? Fine, no questions. So after completing these setups, we'll go and define the distribution set. Of course, we know this is not mandatory distribution set. We can enter the manual distribution to simplify our invoice creation process and all. We'll use it as well as we'll see how to create and all. The same as EBS, but just we'll take this task also. So create distribution set. Okay, after creating the distribution set, we'll talk about the supply related definitions and all. So directly we okay, we'll see that point. First we'll complete and we'll proceed with that. Okay, done. Now we'll go and set up common options. Okay, just I'm calling as common options. There's nothing but common options for payables and procurement. Okay, we'll go and configure common options. So go to implementation project. So we are in the implementation project only. Search for a task called as common options for payables and procurement. You don't need to search for the complete task. So common options for payables, search, you can find the task. Done. So always go with the manage common options. Otherwise, if you go with the define common options for payable, again you will click on that. Inside you will be finding this task only, not required. So just manage common options for payables and procurement. Just click on this task. So here you could see the task name as manage common options for payables and procurement. What information we set primarily in the financial option in case of EBS, the same information we are going to set up. Okay, and slight changes also they did, that also we are going to see. So just click on go to task icon. Already our business unit is selected in the scope. That means for this BU we are going to set common options. If you want to set for India business unit, you have to change the BU from the scope, then you have to click on go to task icon. Okay, now we are going to set common options for this business unit only. Click on go to task icon. The same accounts as these they given within the financial options, which accounts we find as required accounts, mandatory and optional, the same accounts, and rest of information also same. Okay, we'll see, like we'll just set to complete the setup. We'll go with the basic information when we are working on the relevant futures, when we work on the interest invoice, when we work on some other different concepts what we have in the payables which we are going to cover. Accordingly we'll come back to this, and the necessary setups will do it, enabling something or selecting specific value for defaulting will do as required. Okay, now we can set up the mandatory accounts here. Liability account. So click on search.
Lakshman, do you have cross-validation rule in cloud?
Yes, we have cross-validation rules.
Yeah.
That we set up as a part of GL, right? When we work on GL, we'll see that.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wondering, will it?
Yes, we have.
I was tabbing it and it was saying validation, so I was just checking if
that is some sort of issue with this form, like pop-up is showing. No, we didn't implement any cross-validation rules. That's an invalid message which system was showing. Okay.
Oh,
Sometimes what happens,
okay, thank you.
like when you are dealing with these pages and all, if you click on this LOV, it won't open anything, even you have values. In that case, what you can do is you type some dummy value and tab out. It will open pop-up window. Then you can search for the right value which you are trying to find. Okay, follow that practice if you come across with that scenario. So here we require account called as liability. Liability nothing but accounts payable account, right? So search for accounts payable. So accounts payables account. Okay, so we selected, just say okay. Fine. And just you copy the code combination and paste for the prepayment and select the prepayment account. Change account, prepayment. And provide this conversion rate, variance, gain, loss, and the discount accounts. You provide the same code combination. Nothing will go wrong. It's all about filling. We are not going to analyze that how much discount we got and rest. So just complete that setup by providing the code combination. You can provide returned earnings, realized gain and loss accounts, which are mandatory. You can fill with any one of the code combination. There won't be an issue with this. So we know, like normal, when we implement, we should go with the right account. But here, just for testing, fill with any account, no issues. But this we are taking exact account reason. We have to perform the reconciliations and all. There definitely we need that account only. So we take and done. So this is how just you can fill the information. Okay, and if you just notice, okay, that in case of EBS, when you are setting the financial options, we map inventory organization with our operating unit through financial options. But here they removed that option that we could see as a part of procurement related configuration only. Okay, from procurement setups only you can map your inventory organization with your business unit. In case of EBS, within the financial options, you can select inventory organization. You can map inventory with your operating unit. But here we don't have that option. Okay, done. So now we have to set up invoice options and payment options. So nothing is mandatory as of now, but just we'll navigate to those pages and we'll just review that information. So search for invoice options. Search for the task called as invoice options. Just click on manage invoice options. Click on go to task icon. So select you want to set up invoice options for which business unit. Cloud INC, search, select, say save and close. So here you can notice all the invoice related controls and defaults. Invoice process related, invoice creation, invoice process related, all the controls. And for this business unit, we assigned one reference data set, to which reference data set we assigned the payment terms. If you notice here, those two payment terms only you can see. This business unit has access to only these two payment terms. These two only we assign to our custom reference data set, and that custom reference data set we assign to this BU, right? So here you could see that. Even when you are creating invoices also for this business unit, you'll be able to select these two payment terms only. So you have many defaults here which you can set for your invoice creation. Okay, many defaults you have, and again there are many controls which you can set for invoice creation. Any question?
Yeah. In case of the payment terms, you are able to see immediate, and one other one is the cloud INC, which is relates to reference data.
Correct.
So immediate also included in the cloud, right? Cloud INC, right?
Sorry?
So the one which immediate is a part of cloud INC reference data, right?
These two
We
payment
assign,
terms we
yeah,
assign to our reference data set.
correct. Okay, but no, the one, what was the name for the reference data? The name? Cloud INC, right?
Cloud INC BU.
Cloud INC PU. Okay, I'll check that. Okay, fine. Fine. Thank you.
No, you remember this point, right? We created reference data set. Here we given the name as Cloud INC BU. Our payment term we assign to this. This reference status we assign to our BU. Okay, that's what we did before these setups. Okay, done. So since we have this BU got access to only these two payment terms because of reference data set. Okay, so these are the defaults and all. In case of EBS, so when you go to invoice options, as a mandatory, you may not set some controls when you do the setups. Maybe depending on which features you are implementing, you may enable or you may set relevant values. But as a mandatory, we enable on checkbox called as allow online validation. Then only you will be able to validate the invoices for specific operating unit in EBS. But in the Fusion, we don't have that control. So BU level, you cannot set that option, allow online validation. That provision, that access they given through role. If the role has access to allow online validation provision, the user will be able to perform the invoice validation. Otherwise, no. Okay, that control they removed from BU level. Here you no need to set anything as online validation, same as EBS. So for now, nothing is mandatory. So when we are working on the relevant concepts, approvals, interest, many other features we have, which we are going to work on payables, accordingly we'll come back to this invoice options and we'll enable and we'll be working on relevantly. Okay. For now, nothing is mandatory. Just navigate so that system will be tagging our BU into the setup part, then say save and close. The same way you can just go and perform the payment options. Go to payment options. Click on go to task icon. Already our BU selected into scope. Directly it will take us to the same page. Cloud US business unit. These all are related to payment related controls, how accounting should happen. So third party payments and all. We'll be working on third party payments, etc. At that time. We'll come back to this and we'll see. For now, nothing is mandatory. But just notice these are the basic setups which need to be completed as a part of payables. So just we're done with this, and invoice options we reviewed. These two we reviewed, that's all. Nothing we specified, and we just in the invoice options we verified which payment terms we are able to access from our business unit. So which payment terms our reference data set have access, those only we are able to access, only those two. If you go to your business unit, if you assign common reference data set to your business unit for payment terms, you will be able to see all the payment terms, how many payment terms are associated with the common. Okay, done. Now we'll go and create the distribution set. We'll go and create the distribution set. Say distribution sets. The task name is manage distribution sets. Okay, manage distribution sets. Click on go to task icon. So it's an optional task that will complete, so that when we create the invoices, instead of selecting code combination, we can select distribute set, which distributes the invoice amounts automatically. Just click on create. So this distribution set you require in which business unit, select it. Select our BU name. BU name is Cloud INC US business unit. Fine. You can give the name as, just simply you can give some expense name directly, because since it's a BU specific, you don't need to write the name to identify. Since when we work for this BU, only this distribution set will be default displayed, right? So click on add distribution accounts. I'll say 50% amount should goes to one account, remaining 50 to different account. select company, select department, select account. So go with advanced search, and you can search for expense accounts. Say burden expense, and you may add one more distribution account, same as EBS we are defining this.
So, Lakshman, can we segregate the distribution account details on the basis of supplier?
Based on the supplier distribution accounts. Supplier wise, no, you cannot do that. It's all about when you create the transaction, you can select over there, or else you can maintain separately, or else you may create distribution sets supplier specific, and within that you can include that supplier related distribution accounts, how you want to manage. It's all about you have to do as a kind of workaround, means how you need accordingly you may define it based on the purpose, but there is no specification where you can, this is for so and so supplier, this is for so and so supplier. You say you have a one supplier, the one supplier you use two different sets. In that case, which you use mostly, that you may create and assign to supplier site level. Whenever you create the transaction, that would get defaulted. If you want to override, you can override with a different reference, with a different distribution set.
Okay, got it.
Yep. Fine, done. Say save and close. The same, we know very well how to define it in case of EBS. Same way like we can do here. Then we are ready with the distribution set. So now we'll proceed with a few other setups. So what we discussed earlier, first you have to create the employee user. The employee user you can convert as a procurement agent. The procurement agent can create the suppliers and the supplier side definition. Yes, that is true. When procurement agent can create the supplier and supplier sites, if the procurement agent has access to the buyer related role, okay, the procurement agent required access to supplier related role, then only that procurement agent can create the supplier and supplier sites. So now we'll just work on that point. What we'll do is we'll just go and assign the role to the user, which role is required to create the supplier and supplier sites. Okay, we'll see that point. So see, we are able to do most of the setups from the current user. What is the reason? What is the reason we are able to do most of the setups from the current user?
Implementation.
We have role access to this user, application implementation consultant. Application implementation consultant role we provision to this user, we given to this user. That is the reason we are able to do all the setups. But if any procurement agent wants to create supplier and supplier sites, the additional role access is required. Suppliers you cannot create as a part of implementation project. You don't find any task related to supplier. Okay, supplier definition, for supplier definition purpose you should get separate role. Okay, then only you can do it. So we'll see that which role and how that works. So here you can take the point as assign supplier role to user. When you say supplier role, the exact name is supplier manager. We have a role called as supplier manager. If you assign that supplier manager role to the user, which user? That to procurement agent user. means the user, which user is converted as a procurement agent. Prior to that, that user is employee user. Okay, so that user will be able to create the suppliers. And before you go and create the supplier, you have to set the supplier numbering. Say specify supplier numbering. Fine. So first we have to assign the role to the user so that that user can create the suppliers. Before you create the suppliers, you have to set the supplier numbering. In case of EBS, where we set this?
This supply numbering is global to all the projects?
Not projects, it's an instance specific. It works at instance level, not project specific. In EBS also same, right? So in EBS, in case of 11i, we set in the financial options only. From release 12, they introduced the separate setup called as payable system setup. The payable system setup, you can set the supplier numbering, but in Fusion, we don't see the supplier numbering setup in common options or anywhere. For that, they given the separate task called as specify supplier numbering. Through that task only, we can go and set it up. Once you set the supplier numbering, system will allow you to create the supplier. Without setting the supplier numbering, you cannot create the supplier. Okay, you cannot create the supplier. So you have to set the supplier numbering, from which number system should start triggering the sequence for the suppliers. After setting, you can create the supplier. When you talk about supplier creation, so first we'll create supplier, and we have to create the address for supplier, then we have to create the site, then site assignments. We have to assign the site to business unit. Site assignments. Okay. So in case of EBS,
where do we specify whether it's going to be automatic or manual?
sorry,
The supplier numbering could be manual or automatic, both, right?
automatic
so
only. Here you don't have
we cannot
specification to set automatic and manual. It is automatic only. You don't have that specification also to select automatic or manual. It's straight away task. You'll go to this task and you'll give the what should be the next supplier number.
Okay. And that's not a question. In R12 and R11i, everywhere we had a function to copy the previous record, duplicate record, and all that. Do we have something like that in here?
I didn't get you. What you have to copy?
So let's say you're creating a distribution set or anything, and you want to copy the previous row onto the next row because you want to change only one cell.
Shortcuts we have, right? Yeah. So this is a web page. You cannot copy the above record into current record space and all that. You cannot do the field copy or enter record copy. You don't see here. So since ADF pages, that function we don't have. Okay. So that function doesn't work here.
So the structure, the supplier is the above the business unit.
No, I didn't complete. I am writing here. I have to talk about it. After that, if you have a question, please. Okay. So here, what I'm trying to say is just first we have to assign the role to the user. Then only that user can create the supplier definition. Once you have access to the role, so you have to set the supplier numbering. Here you don't have option to choose automatic or manual. It's straight away automatic. You have to set the number specification. Then only system will allow you to create the supplier. So this environment is Vision. So here directly you can go and create the supplier. But when you are working on the fresh instance in your client instance, so you cannot expect some setups are already done, right? So it would be fresh instance empty. So it's a mandatory you have to set the supplier numbering. Without setting supplier numbering, if you try to create the supplier, it won't allow and it won't give the message also saying that you have to set the supplier numbering. You should understand that point. Okay. So when you talk about supplier creation in EBS, how do we do? We'll create the supplier and we'll create the site and we'll assign that site. Assign site. But here also same. But in case of EBS, when you after creating the supplier, we'll create the site. Site means We'll give the address of the site, then we'll give the site name. But here they're given as a separate. First we'll create the supplier, then we create the address. In case of EBS, within the address we'll give the site name. While we define the address, while we write the address for the supplier, we will be giving the address name, nothing but site name system will take. But here they're given as a separate records. First we'll create the supplier, then we have to create the address. By using the address, we'll create the site as a separate step. Then that site you can assign to business unit, one or multiple business units. When we are assigning, again the procurement agent concept will come into the picture. We'll discuss that. So one address can be used for multiple sites definition. We'll see that. Here in case of Fusion, the supplier definition only normally we call as header information. Here the same supplier definition here we call as supplier profile. That is nothing but supplier header. Supplier header, what we call in EBS, here we call as supplier profile. Then after supplier profile definition, address creation will do. Against the address you can create one or multiple sites, then finally the site we assign to specific business unit. So this is what we are going to do. So any questions here please? If no questions, we'll proceed and we'll perform these tasks. Fine. So first we'll go and assign the role called as supplier manager to our user. Our user is employee user and procurement agent, right? Cloud INC is employee user. The same user we converted as a procurement agent. If we assign this supplier manager role to this user, you will be able to create the supplier and supplier sites, right? If you assign to implementation user, you can create supplier but not sites. So that is a point you have to understand. So simple point. We have two users, right? The first user which you created is Fusion India. The current user is Cloud INC. Cloud INC is employee user. Employee user undo procurement agent, right? And Cloud India is just implementation user. Now say we are going to assign supplier manager role to this Fusion India as well as Cloud INC. Now this user can create supplier and address. But this user can create supplier, address and sites and site assignments also, everything. Sites and site assignments. So this is the point we have to understand. Any questions here please?
So procurement agent role is giving the site assignment facility.
Correct. Procurement agent role, yes, procurement role, agent role will give the it's a provision. Yeah, procurement agent can create the supplier site. If you want to create a procurement agent, any user, if you want to convert, before that user should be a employee user. Simply you can say employee user can create the supplier site if the employee user is converted as a procurement agent. If employee user is acting as a procurement agent, employee user can create the supplier sites, and the assignment also can be done by employee user, not by implementation user. Any questions here please? You can assign supplier manager to implementation user, but what implementation user can do? suppliers implementation user can do, addresses also implementation user can do, because this is a common information. When you talk about sites, sites are specific to sites, we have to map with the business units, right? So that provision, that privileges only procurement agent can have. Fine, no questions, so we'll go and assign the role.
Can we convert an implementation user to an employee user? And just like that.
We cannot
We
convert.
can?
We cannot.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. Yes. So now just navigate to security console. Go to users. Find our user. Our user is Cloud INC. Just click on username. Click on edit. Click on add role. Assign role called as supplier manager. So along with that, since we converted our user as a procurement agent, assign role called as buyer also. Done. Say save and close. We no need to assign anything to this role. Okay. So this is not for transaction purpose, right? Just definition. You don't need to assign any BUs, etc. That's all done. So we created assigned. Now you can submit LDAP job. Okay. After this role assignment for synchronization, run LDAP. So sometimes it may, even if you submit LDAP job, it may take more time for synchronization. Certain roles takes time for the synchronization. I think we tagged it as into favorites, right? No. So go to scheduled processes.
So after changing of any role, modification of role, we need to run this process, mandate.
Yeah, if when you assign it, it's not mandate, it's Oracle recommends. Once you assign any role to the user, automatically the synchronization, the update takes place. Sometimes the update may take more time to get updated. That is the reason Oracle recommends whenever you do some new assignments, you can submit this LDAP so that that changes will get synchronized immediate base.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the reason. So better we can tag this ESS job page into favorite so that every time you don't need to take the navigation. Let's tag into favorites. We'll name it as ESS job page. Just save and close. Fine. So next time onwards from favorites we can navigate to this. LDAP, search, select and say OK. Say OK and submit. So we discussed about it. It's instance level job.
Yeah, we didn't need data access task to be run for this. I mean, the concurrent program.
Oh, so this is, yes, it's a concurrent program only. Here then they name it as a job. Yes, we have to run this job to update this assignment in LDAP.
Right.
Please.
Right. But before this, we did not do the data access for the role because it is view specific, right?
See, data access we do if it is required. supplier creation is not BU specific, right? Supplier is global information. The sites we assign to specific BU. It's not BU specific. Supplier is not BU specific.
Okay.
Here the system is showing status blocked means in the same instance somebody is running the same job same time. Fine. Once that is executed, our system will submit this whatever we submitted. It will take into the same queue and it will execute. Okay. Anyway, it takes some time. Done. Now we'll go on to set the supplier numbering. So this is a vision instance. So already it's this instance is in usage. That means you can assume that the supplier numbering is already set in this environment. So but anyway, we'll go and do it. We'll see just to understand. We'll navigate to that page and we'll see that. Okay, that you can do from the project or outside of the project you can do it. Search for the task called as specify supplier numbering. I just written the task name itself here as this. The same name you can search. There is a task called as specify supplier numbering. Click on go. It's just the one single field where you have to specify the numbering. So already in this instance the number is already set and the same number system is running. Just for your information purpose I'm showing. Again, you don't go on to set back to the previous numbers, and already if the number is generated in this environment for the supplier, it will show like this already the supplier number is exist and all. That will create some issues. Okay, don't change this number. Just try to understand if you are working on the fresh instance. Okay, then you have to set it first, then only you can create the supplier. Without setting this number here, you cannot do that. By default here you could say blank. You have to set some number, then say save and close. But now when you are practicing, you don't need to touch this setup. Okay, please ignore this setup. So since it's already done, notice it's
So the supplier ID
While,
is
while it is an automatic numbering, why not it is grayed out?
Really I'm not sure like why they kept like that. So the reason could be it's automatic. Now I taken the decision I want to start the supplier numbering from 1. Okay, I given the next number as 1. I created one supplier, it will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Later I changed my mind. Oh, I want to go with the supplier number from 100 plus 101 or else 1001 or else I want to start numbering from 1 lakh. There should be scope of changing the number with some future numbers. That could be the reason. The flexibility they given. Otherwise, whatever you said that is a permanent. That may not be good all the time. So you can set some number in future if you want to go with some big number or future some next numbers. There should be some option. That might be the reason why they are not grayed out, and since they are not doing that activity, there is a risk also same time. There is chance user can set past number also which is already used. In that case, when you try to create the supplier, it says this number is already used. Duplicate supplier numbering. Of course, generally that numbering and all everything will be dealt by consultants who are experts all these aspects. So think there won't be any risk in that. Okay, so we're done up to here. In tomorrow's session, we'll see the supplier creation, address, site assignments. There are a few points which you have to understand at the time of site assignment and all. We'll see that. It takes some time if we start now, so better we can just do that in tomorrow's session. We're done for today. If you can drop from the meeting if you have any questions. You can stay back. We can
yeah,
discuss. Otherwise, we're done for today. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night.
yeah. Like
Specify supplier numbering is not. I'm not able to open the screen. Every time I click, it says fetching the data for last 10 minutes.
Maybe you try with a different browser, because you whatever the instance you are using, I'm using now. You try from different browser.
like we have supplier numbering. So in the similar way, do we have invoice numbering also?
No. Do you have an EBS, invoice numbering?
Actually, I am in PeopleSoft, so we have the
Oh.
voucher ID.
See, reality in PeopleSoft or JD Edwards or EBS, any product you take, do you think will generate automatic numbering for the invoices? No. Whatever the number you get from the supplier on the invoice, the actual invoice number we have to enter as invoice number in the system. That's how you can keep that information for reference. Apart from that, if you want to create some numbering, separate sequence, for that we have a sequential numbering concept,
Okay. We
right?
have the sequential numbering in PeopleSoft for voucher ID.
Yeah, this is
So
also
what kind of
your voucher is nothing but invoice. Voucher
okay.
numbering, invoice numbering. See, the voucher
Okay.
is different and invoice number is different. Voucher is same, invoice only. Invoice number means when you get invoice from the supplier, there will be some number supplier will be giving, right? That you have to enter
Correct.
as is into system as invoice number. So for your internal
Correct.
purpose, how many invoices you are creating to have a tracking, you can generate the voucher this sequential numbering.
Hmm.
That's a separate numbering, additional numbering for internal purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine.
Lakshman,
Questions?
Lakshman.
Please.
Yeah, yesterday I missed the class. I have one quick question for you.
Your voice is very
So,
low, Pradeep.
can you hear me?
I think better. Please.
Yeah. Yesterday I missed the class. So I was going through the video. You created another user, Cloud INC. So what was the purpose? I know Cloud INC has now an employee user. So what is the reason?
Correct.
So we could have made the other one, Fusion India, also employee user.
Today also we discussed. I thought you got.
I mean, there was some in the beginning you would discuss,
Can you 1 second? Can you create the supplier sites with the Fusion India?
No.
That is the reason we created.
Okay. Just to distinguish.
Reality. Even see, when we do the implementation also, for every employee we will be creating the employee user only, not implementation user. Why we created Fusion India user? Could you please tell me that if you understand that point? Why we created Fusion India first? Why we could not create employee user?
Because the BU was not defined.
Yes, exactly. Now BU and our legal entity, everything is ready, right? That is the reason we created. Not only just because those are ready, we created. So that user only you can use with the full scope of anything in the system process.
Yeah. Now I can connect. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Fine.
Lakshman, I think what Pradeep was asking. So what about if we had made Fusion India as the employee user, assigned an employee to the same one? Could we have done that or not?
That's what we discussed. The same question you asked a few minutes back. I said you cannot convert implementation user as employee user.
Okay.
That is the reason. Otherwise, we might have done that. No, you cannot do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, please? Fine. No questions. You can expect this video within 1 hour in the Google Drive. And sheet also in the same drive yesterday itself. And today this sheet also I'll be replacing. I'll remove that and I'll place this one and video you can find within 1 hour. Any questions, please?
A question, Murli here. Is the way that you have mentioned that implementation user cannot be converted into employee user? Can we be able to do reverse other way for employee user can be converted to implementation user?
No, you cannot do that.
Okay.
That means by converting employee user as implement, you are trying to degrade the privileges, right? You cannot do that.
Let's say if I'm an employee, I want to do implementation for the same client. I'm an employee. In that situation, what will
The
happen?
point is, okay, see, I got what you are thinking. When you say implementation user, don't think only that user can do the implementation. For the purpose of starting with implementation, we created. Now, do you think our employee user is implementation user?
No.
Yes, you have to think as yes. The reason is, what implementation user can do, our employee user able to do it because of the roles. Now our employee user is implementation user, is acting as implementation user, is doing implementation activities. So that is the point. Just don't take the point. Whom we call as implementation user, they only can do the implementation. No, who has the access to those primary three roles, they can act, they can work as implementation consultant. User definition point of view are calling as implementation user and employee user. Now for our employee user, we assign the three roles. Now our employee user is acting as implementation consultant only. The user point of view, employee user, that's all.
So it's a matter of the roles that has been,
yes, exactly.
who had it.
You're right.
Yeah, so once you create the BU, there is no need for the original implementation user.
Exactly. Once you create the employee user, you no need of you still accessing using implementation user. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Lakshman, a question on the common options for payables and procurement.
Yeah.
I remember I saw expense items accrual at receipt or something. I think in R12 that option was part of purchasing options. Was that moved to common options?
Yes.
Here?
Yeah, because see, this is a common options means that those are common for payables and procurement. Slightly they reframed.
Okay.
Slightly they reframed. The other point I highlighted, right? In EBS, in financial options, we have inventory, item validation, organization selection, right?
Correct.
So that now they removed here, they given in EBS, we have a purchasing options. Equal to purchasing options in the Fusion, we have a procurement function setup. They moved to that setup. That's how slightly they did small changes to manage, because see, in the BU level, they segregated business functions. To facilitate the configuration accordingly, they did slight changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So any other questions, please?
I have a question on a different topic related to the EBS course I had purchased, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you actually share the student guides for the EBS R12 finance course?
Student guide.
Yeah. For EBS R12.
Okay. Fine, Raj. I'll just check it once. I think I have with me. I'll check and I'll just mail you.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And then also like that spreadsheet, if it is possible, if you can, because I was going through some of the videos, I can see the spreadsheet being used.
Oh, that sheet will give to the people who subscribe that course only, because the initial videos.
I did.
Yeah.
I did subscribe to it.
Sorry?
I did subscribe to that. I did purchase that
then
course.
you'll get it. No issues. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Fine. Thanks. I mean, your name I don't. Three Raj. Okay, fine. So I'll send you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. So any other questions from anyone?
Thanks, Lakshman. Thank you very much, Lakshman.
Thank you, Tej.
Lakshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lakshman. So before we start creating supplier and adding sites and all, do we also talk about the approval hierarchies?
Yeah, definitely we'll do that. Approvals when it will come into the picture once you start with the invoice creation, right? So what I'll do is
even in supplier creation, I have seen few projects, they use different hierarchies. So you create basic information and then it goes for the approval, and then next once it gets approved, then we can create the site.
Yeah.
So
there is one concept called as what supplier you are creating, whether you are creating the supplier as a like a spend authorized. That means which
Yeah, correct.
okay.
Correct.
At
Spend
the time of
right.
creation, I'll explain those points. Okay,
Okay.
I'll explain those points. So you can initially, you see, for sourcing purpose, you may create the supplier. In that case, you cannot use that supplier for PO creation or invoice creation. You can
Right.
get the approvals. It goes for approval. Once they approve, it will convert it as a spent authorized, which can be used for transaction purpose.
Correct. Correct.
That
Yes. Yes.
I'll just light on that. And at the time of
Okay.
approval
Okay.
creation for invoice and all, if you want to see that supplier also, I'll just show you. So very simple definitions. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Lakshman.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Fine. So, any other questions from anyone?
Lakshman, I have a different question, not related to what we have discussed.
Yeah, please.
So, see, what I have a requirement like for the cash management transactions. There are, kind of a few bank accounts which are coming in the file which are invalid. So we have to create a lookup where we can only put the valid accounts, and accordingly the code will check. The only valid accounts, and then it will throw the error. So if I have to create a lookup, I can directly go to manage lookups, and I can create a new lookup, right?
Yes.
Or do I need to check banking information,
Yeah.
existing banking info?
No, lookups. See, whatever you are referring, the where you are trying to populate the data in that specific function, what are the lookup values you have, you can just go there and you can create. See, it's not like just the point you're raising. I can understand and I can answer. What exactly you are trying to do, that I should understand before that. So
Yeah,
when you talk about that information that you can manage with
yeah.
lookup, if lookup is available, if not lookup, you will manage with the DFF, where you just
Okay.
add the DFF and will be adding the relevant values as a DFF related attribute values, and that's how you do mapping and all. So it depends.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Lakshman. Yeah, I'll check it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Fine. So then that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time. Have a good day and good night. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Lakshman. Good day.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Thank you.